Have you ever looked at the person you love and felt like your heart was carrying the weight of the entire relationship? Like you're the one holding everything together while slowly falling apart yourself? That moment, the one we don't want to admit to ourselves, might be the very first sign that it's time to question whether staying is really the right choice. Got it? I'll expand key point 1 into at least 400 words, keeping the style heartfelt, practical, and emotionally engaging while making it flow like part of the full speech. Here it is. When you first fall in love, everything feels balanced. You both give, you both show up, you both try. That's what makes the beginning so exciting. There's a sense of mutual discovery, a dance where both partners move in rhythm. But somewhere along the line, things can shift. You start noticing little things. You're the one reaching out first. You're the one apologizing after every argument, even when you weren't the one who started it. You're the one planning date nights, trying to spark conversations, holding the relationship together with your bare hands while your partner just coasts. At first, you make excuses. They're just stressed right now. They'll come around. It's just a phase. But deep down, there's this quiet exhaustion setting in. Because relationships aren't supposed to feel like you're carrying the weight of two people's love on your shoulders alone. Effort is the oxygen of love. It's not about grand gestures or constant romance. It's about consistency, a text that says, thinking about you, a simple question like, how was your day, a willingness to talk through the hard stuff instead of brushing it under the rug. When that effort becomes one-sided, you start to feel the slow ache of being emotionally alone while physically together. And here's the hard truth. The person doing all the work eventually runs out of fuel. What makes this so painful is that we hold on because we remember the early days. We cling to the version of them who used to try, hoping they'll come back. But love isn't just about memories. It's about what someone is willing to do for you today. When you're constantly rationalizing their lack of effort, you're teaching yourself to settle. You're teaching yourself to be okay with less than you deserve. Here's what people often miss. Leaving isn't about punishing them, it's about protecting you. It's about recognizing that you deserve a partner who meets you halfway, who wants to build something with you, not someone who keeps you begging for scraps of their attention. Love should feel like two people rowing toward the same horizon. The moment you realize you've been rowing alone while they stand on the shore watching you tire yourself out, that's the moment to stop, breathe, and ask yourself if this is really the relationship you want to keep fighting for. Got it? I'll expand key point 2 into at least 400 words, keeping it raw, emotional, and thought-provoking, while making it flow naturally as part of the speech. Here it is. One of the most dangerous things that can happen in a relationship isn't loud fights or passionate disagreements. It's the slow, almost invisible way your sense of self can begin to erode. It doesn't happen overnight. At first you feel like yourself. You laugh the same, you dream the same, you see yourself the same way you always have. But then little by little you start shrinking. Maybe it begins with small comments, things they say that make you second, guess your worth. Or maybe it comes from the way they stop noticing you altogether, and you start wondering if you're even enough to hold their attention anymore. Over time, you adjust to the neglect. You convince yourself you're asking for too much when all you want is to feel seen, loved, appreciated. You start lowering your standards, accepting the bare minimum, telling yourself, at least they're still here. But here's the truth. Staying physically present while being emotionally absent isn't love, it's a slow starvation of the soul. You deserve someone who looks at you and sees your value, someone who listens when you speak, who cares about your feelings and your dreams, who makes you feel like you matter. When a relationship chips away at your confidence, when you stop recognizing the person in the mirror because you've molded yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone, that's when you know something is wrong. Love should never cost you your self-respect. It should never silence your voice or make you feel small just so someone else can feel big. And here's the heartbreaking part. Many people stay because they think leaving means giving up. They tell themselves, if I just love them harder, maybe they'll see my worth. But love doesn't work like that. You can't prove your value to someone who doesn't want to see it. You can't force someone to appreciate what they keep taking for granted. The moment you realize you're dimming your own light so the relationship doesn't fall apart, that's the moment to pause, because love should expand you, not shrink you. It should give you room to breathe, to grow, to feel proud of who you are, not make you forget the very things that make you you. Got it? I'll expand key point 3 into at least 400 words, keeping the same emotional depth and conversational tone, so it feels like a natural continuation of the speech. There's a moment in every relationship where you look around and realize things haven't moved forward in a long time. Maybe you've been having the same argument for months, or even years. Maybe you keep hoping that this time will be different, that they'll finally listen, finally change, finally meet you in the middle. But nothing shifts, the same promises get made, the same apologies follow, and yet here you are, stuck in the same cycle. That's what stagnation feels like, a slow, quiet death of progress. The truth is, love by itself isn't enough to sustain a relationship. We grow up believing that as long as you love someone, you can make it work. But love is just the foundation, what you build on top of it. Trust, communication, respect, shared goals. That's what makes a relationship strong. When one person stops building, when they refuse to look at themselves, to grow emotionally, to break old patterns, the foundation begins to crack no matter how much love you pour into it. Here's the tough part. Sometimes the person you love deeply simply doesn't want to grow in the same direction you do. They're comfortable where things are, even if where things are isn't healthy, and you can't drag someone into growth. You can't force them to become self-aware, to communicate better, to treat you with the care and consistency you deserve. Growth requires willingness, and if they don't have it, all you're left with is the exhausting job of trying to build a future with someone who keeps pulling you into the past. What makes this so painful is the hope. We keep waiting for that breakthrough moment, that magical day when they finally see what's at stake and decide to change everything. But waiting for potential keeps you stuck in a relationship that exists more in your imagination than in reality. Love should feel alive, moving forward, becoming deeper and stronger over time. If instead it feels like you're going in circles, reliving the same hurt again and again, it might be time to ask yourself a hard question. Do I love the person in front of me, or the version of them I keep hoping they'll become? Because if it's the latter, the relationship isn't growing. It's only holding you back. There is a loneliness that cuts deeper than being alone, and it's the kind you feel when you're lying next to someone who is supposed to love you, but feels a million miles away. It's a quiet ache, the kind that doesn't show up in loud arguments or slammed doors, but in the silence between two people who have stopped truly seeing each other. You can be sitting on the same couch, eating at the same table, sharing the same bed, and still feel like you're living separate lives. That's the loneliness that comes when emotional intimacy fades, when the person who once knew you best feels like a stranger in the room. At first, you try to fix it. You ask more questions, try to start meaningful conversations, suggest spending more time together. Maybe you even blame yourself, wondering if you've become boring or uninteresting, if you somehow pushed them away. But the truth is, emotional absence is not fixed by proximity. Being physically there doesn't matter if the heart isn't present too, and when your heart keeps reaching out while theirs keeps retreating, the gap between you only widens. What makes this so hard to admit is that we equate staying with love. We think that as long as they're here, as long as they haven't left, the relationship is still intact. But there's a difference between sharing space and sharing a life. When you're with someone who doesn't open up, who doesn't let you in, who keeps their thoughts, feelings, and dreams locked away, you start to feel like you're living beside them rather than with them. And slowly, the relationship stops feeling like a partnership and starts feeling like isolation in disguise. The hardest realization is that sometimes being on your own would hurt less than feeling alone with someone who is supposed to care. Because, at least loneliness on your own gives you freedom, the space to heal, to rediscover yourself, to build connections that actually feed your soul. Loneliness inside a relationship is different. It eats away at your self-worth because it makes you wonder why you're not enough to bridge the distance. When you reach the point where your heart feels emptier staying than it would leaving, that's the moment to be honest with yourself. Because love should make you feel safe and connected, not invisible in the presence of the one person who promised to see you. Got it? I'll give you a powerful, emotionally charged conclusion in 4 long paragraphs that ties together all the key points and leaves the audience feeling both understood and empowered. Here it is. The truth about leaving a relationship is that it's rarely about a single, explosive moment. Most of the time, it's 1,000 quiet realizations that slowly build up until you can't ignore them anymore. It's the loneliness you feel even when they're right beside you. It's the exhaustion of carrying the weight alone, the shrinking of your confidence, the endless cycles that never change. And as much as you try to push these feelings down, there comes a day when your heart finally whispers what your mind has been avoiding. This isn't love anymore, it's survival. That whisper is scary, but it's also the beginning of clarity. Because leaving isn't about giving up. That's the lie we tell ourselves to stay a little longer, to justify why we keep holding on. We think walking away means we didn't try hard enough, love hard enough, forgive enough. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and even for them, is to stop fighting for something that's slowly breaking you. Love was never meant to be proven through pain. It was meant to be shared, nurtured, and built together. And when that stops happening, staying becomes a form of self-abandonment rather than loyalty. There's a freedom on the other side of letting go that you can't see while you're still inside the storm. Right now, it feels terrifying, like you're standing on the edge of a cliff about to jump. But leaving a relationship that no longer serves you isn't falling. It's learning to fly again. It's giving yourself permission to rebuild, to heal, to feel joy without needing to apologize for it. It's making space for the kind of love that doesn't require you to shrink, chase, or settle just to keep it. And maybe the most important truth of all is this: choosing to leave isn't the end of your story. It's the start of a new chapter where you finally come home to yourself, where you remember what it feels like to laugh without fear, to be loved without conditions, to wake up without the weight of constant disappointment. One day, you'll look back and realize that leaving wasn't the hardest thing you ever did. It was the bravest. Because you chose you, and that choice will always lead you back to the life and the love you truly deserve. Here's a heartfelt thank you and goodbye note you can use at the end of your speech or video before uploading it. Thank you so much for watching and spending this time with me. If this message spoke to your heart, know that you're not alone and you deserve the kind of love that lifts you up, not weighs you down. Your time, your support, and your willingness to reflect on these words mean the world to me. If this video helped you gain clarity or gave you a moment of courage, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so more people can find the strength they need too. Your comments and stories are always welcome. I love hearing how these words connect with you. Until next time, take care of your heart, protect your peace, and remember that leaving what hurts you isn't weakness. It's the beginning of a stronger, brighter you. Thank you once again, and goodbye for now, until we meet in the next video.